Friends, I love drama and I don't want you to miss out on anything. So let's briefly gather here and unpack why the IEC and Jacob Zuma's MK party are potentially headed for a battle at the Constitutional Court. So you must be asking yourself, like, how did we get here? So earlier this year, the MK party submitted its list of candidates for the upcoming election and it included Jacob Zuma in its list. The IEC then received objections to Zuma's eligibility to stand for the election based on the fact that he had been sentenced to a 12-month prison term without an option of a fine. So the IEC was like, hell nah, and barred him from running as an MP under the MK party. So you must be asking yourself, Kanti, what's the big deal? Like, why can't you be an MP even if you have a prison sentence? So guys, turns out that section 47, subsection 1E of the Constitution actually bars anyone who's been sentenced to 12 or more months in prison without an option of a fine from becoming a member of the National Assembly for about 5 years. So, Zuma and the MK party appealed against the IEC's decision to the Electoral Court, and last week Tuesday, the court ruled in favor of the MK party and found that Zuma could run for elections despite this 15-month prison sentence that he was handed by the Constitutional Court. Now the IEC is like, not today, honey. So they've approached the Constitutional Court to lodge an urgent appeal against the Electoral Court ruling. So it's going down potentially at the Constitutional Court very soon. Guys, the MK party and Zuma's win took so many legal and political analysts by shock because it was just assumed that the Constitution was totally crystal clear about this. Now, I'm not going to delve too hard into the arguments presented at the Electoral Court, but in essence, Dalimpofu, who argued for Zuma and the MK party, stated that Zuma spent only 3 months in prison after he received a remission of sentence, which he argued rendered his initial sentence of 15 months irrelevant. Advocate Mpofu's view is that the remission of Zuma's sentence means that the sentence is set aside. On top of that, Advocate Mpofu further argued that the decision to disqualify Zuma should lie with Parliament and not the IEC, as Section 47 of the Constitution dealt with the National Assembly and not the Electoral Committee. He further argued that the IEC has only the jurisdiction to implement Section 190 of the Constitution, which says it must manage elections of national, provincial, and municipal legislative bodies in accordance with national legislation. Advocate Mpofu said disqualifying Zuma from standing from public office would not only infringe on his right, but also those who voted for the MK party. Which I find kind of interesting because looking at our electoral system, we don't vote individuals in parliament, but political parties do. So it's the political parties who determine who they field in as MPs. Anywho, Advocate Tembeka Ngugaitobi, who represented the IEC, argued that it was well within its rights to disqualify Zuma from standing for public office. Advocate Tembeka argued that the contempt of court was generally classified as a criminal offense, and while the contempt case against the former president was both criminal and civil, the bottom line is he was found guilty. Advocate Tembeka further said that the IEC was correct to uphold objections made regarding President Zuma appearing on the MK party's parliamentary list. Remember, Advocate Mpofu said that the IEC has no right. Advocate Tembeka said the IEC had the power drawn from both the Electoral Act and the Constitution to do so. He further said that the Constitution allowed any person, including the Chief Electoral Officer, who by the way was appointed by Zuma, to object to a nominee's candidature, as it was the IEC's prerogative to make the final decision on objections. So at this point, we're all asking ourselves, like, what now? So, the Electoral Court did not release a written outcome of the court case and its judgment. So, at this point, no one can exactly state with any authority what the thinking behind the judgment to allow Zuma to run was. So, I was on YouTube and I checked out a political analyst called Prof. Theo Fenta, and he said in an interview with Biz News that the judges took the soft option rather than strictly adhering to constitutional principles. Prof. Theo believes that the 5 judges on the bench were swayed by extrajudicial issues, such as the potential for violence. But, honestly, it's really his opinion, so we don't have a written outcome yet, so we can't exactly state what the judges were thinking. Guys, in closing, I don't think this is over, and I really don't think it should be. The IEC absolutely has to go to the Concord to settle this because going forward, it will have profound implications. The rule of law really requires that courts give fully motivated reasons for their decisions. I personally don't care whether Zuma runs or not. I mean, really, I don't. But I am glad that this is happening because we need to stress the system in order to establish case law and use this judicial decision as a basis for deciding similar cases in the future.